Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. Sorry I've been away for so long. Obviously I've had a real tragedy in the family, and that is something that's ongoing, so I will try and keep videos going as best I can, but it might only be one a week or so on. Lots going on, and also it's just not, I find it very hard to get motivated to do the videos. So yeah, with that in mind, I'm going to do a video today which is a mentalism theory. So I'm going to talk about my overview of mentalism, because there is way too much to put into one video, but I'm just going to give you an overview on how I feel mentalism is best presented. I'm not going to talk about methods at all. I will talk about how to use particular methods and how I think you should structure magic and who influences are behind that thinking. So with that in mind, let's get on with the video. Mentalism theory. Okay, so mentalism theory is something that would take about 7 hours to go through if I went through all the methods. So I'm just going to go through a couple of points. One of the points is about how you present yourself during mentalism. The second point I'm going to talk about is how to structure your routines for mentalism. And the third thing I want to talk about is how what the audience leave with when they leave any show, really, magic show or mentalism music, what you want the audience to leave with, and I'll explain that in a second. Okay, so point one, let's talk about how you present yourself. Now, it's very easy when you do mentalism to dress up in a very smart suit, or to look like you're really old, or to take it really too seriously, or to tell people you can do it for real. These things I don't recommend, and I don't mean that as in you tell them it's a trick, Penn and Teller style. That's not what I mean. What I mean is be yourself. I say this on every magic video I put out, but I think it's important, especially in mentalism. So the more that you are yourself, and the more that you any method that you're using doesn't have to be the presentation you put across. Okay, so Darren obviously pretty much made this thing every day, which is where you present a method in your effect that isn't the method at all, but you're presenting a way of doing the effect. Okay, so when you're presenting yourself, and in my case I'm quite a cheeky chappy on stage, so I make a lot of jokes and I have a lot of banter, so it would seem silly for me to go on and be that light-hearted and then go, I can read your mind, I need you to stare me in the eyes, all this stuff, and every time I do anything I'm asleep, and all this, it doesn't suit my style, it doesn't suit my personality. So rather than trying to make myself fit what I think a mentalist is, or a mentalist looks like, I will make my mentalism fit my personality, and that's really important that you do the same thing. If you are a person that wears double-breasted suit at the age of 19, then absolutely stick with it. But I don't think most people that are watching this who want to perform mentalism are going to be the classical magician looking kind of person, or they talk that way. A good example of Morgan and West. Now they pitch themselves as time travelling Victorian magicians, which makes them like a real ludicrous character until you realise they're both well educated English fellows, but they have moustaches, not because they're characters, but they have them anyway. So they've built the characters around their personalities. So they're not really acting. I've met them. They're a little bit, obviously you amplify what you are on stage, and it's all very much on stage, but off stage they're still very well spoken, and they've still got moustaches. So they've styled their effects and their routines to their personalities, and it's just beautiful. They're really, really good act. So yeah, try and be yourself. Dress as you would dress. Now obviously when I go on stage, I dress like this. At home I will wear a suit, but I don't have highly polished shoes and stuff in my suit. I have trainers with my suit. It's my style. I found what I like and how I am most comfortable, and I stick with it. And do the same. And another little piece of advice: if you are presenting in your act, you're saying, right, for this one, what you say will give me the information to find out what it is you're thinking of. If that is your presentation on that fact, just take a while to go and research whether that sort of thing has ever been done, in real life, whether somebody has done a study on that. You don't need to go into it in massive depth, but what is really nice in mentalism is if you go and research, like for the ESP routine that I do, I did go and research where the ESP deck came from, and you know, why they used it and how they used it, and then why magicians used it and how they marked the cards. And then that information, I'm not going to sit and bore people with all of the information. I'm not going to sit there looking like I know it all, but when I talk about it, I'm talking about something I understand rather than something I've remembered. And I think that's really important, you know, with mentalism, because with mentalism people assume that you are cleverer than the average person. It's that kind of Sherlock Holmes syndrome. You know, I'm not cleverer than the average person, but when I'm talking about the things that I am talking about in my act, I make sure I'm cleverer than the average person for that 5 minutes of information. Because it won't take me long to just, I could spend 2 hours on that and know everything about it. But it means you're talking from a point of knowledge, not a point of remembering a script that you wrote, because you sort of went, oh right, so if the eye goes up and left, then there must be lying, you know, that real kind of. Whereas if you actually go and research all of that stuff, you know, when someone says to you after, oh, well, you know, I saw you do this thing with the eyes and that, you know, you can say, yeah, it's this person come up with this study and back in blah blah blah, and it just looks like you really have studied to learn the way of doing that for real. So you're giving them a method that they can believe in because they believe you, and you believe yourself. You know, it's easy not to look like you're talking bullshit when you're not really talking bullshit, you're talking facts. Right, those facts aren't how the trick's done. The trick's done with the marked card, but I will tell you that it's because you follow patterns in the way that everyone else does. When I tell you to think of a steamed up mirror and start drawing shapes on it, I'm doing shapes with my hands, and I'm doing this, and all this kind of stuff where I'm making you follow my lead is what I tell them. And I've researched it and practiced it and said it so many times. I sometimes truly believe that they are doing those things because I'm using that method. You want to believe in the method you're giving across, whether it's a method or not. Obviously, you don't want to give the actual method out, but what you're giving them is something that they can believe, and therefore when they believe it, they stop trying to figure it out and they just enjoy themselves. And it's really important people enjoy themselves, because that is what we're doing. We're entertaining people. Okay, so now we've got the idea that you need to understand what you're talking about in your presentations. Don't just write a load of garbage that you've sort of seen one video on. Just take your time and research. Now it's about giving people a journey, because you know, a lot of people do this thing where they basically dem a product. And they dem it. You know, people take the thing and they go, right, now I can read minds because I have this. And that's not the way to go about mentalism. It really isn't. You know, in the same way you wouldn't go, I've learned a double lift, and just go and do double lifts to people, because it just doesn't make any sense. It's the same thing. A utility move or utility device are all just ways of getting from A to B. So you've got from A to B is your trick, and in there somewhere one of the little thing is the method, you know, the actual gimmick or whatever you're using. The rest is all presentation. Now, you've heard it a million times that mentalism is all presentation, but it is, and it's the idea of the presentation is to take the heat off whatever it is, the method that you use, so that people will genuinely believe that you did this. You want to give them sort of that vibe where you can explain how it worked and people will go and try it because they believe it that much. Chris Ramsey did it. He said in his video, here's how I do the coin in any hand, and then gave this bullshit thing about eye movement, and people always go underneath, and this hit and miss nonsense that was, I think, the dumbest tutorial ever, because he was basically feeding other magicians the same bullshit that you feed the public. The public need to know that that's how it's done, because whether it's here or here, I have a line either way, so the hand's always on top, the hand's always on the bottom. That is what I feed the public, and they go, man, of course it is. Of course I'm going to hide it down here, or everyone bluffs. You know, here would have been too obvious, so of course I put it on top. You want them to believe that the things you're telling them, the reason that, you know, you're not going to say, I've got a £250 gimmick on my sleeve, and that pound coin you've got is dodgy. You know, you don't want to say shit. Of course you can't. But don't put out a tutorial telling people that this hokey method that we give the spectator is a method that you can do this with. I think it was a really stupid idea. So that's just my little rant at him, because, you know, that method that he's giving the people to learn as a tutorial is actually is actually a presentation. So his method in that video is my presentation in my when I do that, which hand is the coin in. Now, so it looks like we're using the same method, and people kept saying to me, oh my god, you've really nailed that Chris Ramsey thing, and I'm like, oh, no, I use a foolproof method, but I'm doing it in such a way that even people, magicians watching were like, oh shit, you can really tell which way it is because of, and this is magicians that know about the gimmick I was using. We've really nailed that kind of body language reading stuff and then the patterns, and I was like, yeah, alright. It's not, okay, so that's how important presentation is. You want people, even magicians, to believe, you know, oh, maybe new magicians, maybe the experienced ones won't be so much, but they will believe that, oh shit, he really is using that method, you know. And that's just about structuring, that's just about, you know, layering your performance so that they don't think about the coin in their hand, they don't think about this, because you're telling them how it works. You know, and I think that's, with any kind of reading thing or any kind of unique, I mean, I've got this, obviously Darren said this years ago in his international lecture, you need to give them a process. There has to be a reason in their mind as this is Darren's lines, this isn't me, but he say, I've come to see mind reading, what does mind reading look like? And you have to give a process. So with Darren, it's all very, you know, you stand up straight, your arm out, I think with a 10p thing. And he does a very much a structured kind of, makes him do stuff that is really not normal, not outrageous, but just, you know, it might be like you need to, well, your feet need to be this far apart and you need to, your shoulders need to be up, and he just puts them in a position where they're not used to being in, and sort of, okay, well, being like this must mean this is when it will happen. So Darren nailed it when he said about you need to give them a process, and I agree, and of course I agree, because if you give people the process on how this is being done, it doesn't explain it. It doesn't mean if they go and get someone to stand with their feet shoulder apart and do this, a coin will bend in their hand, but they can see something happening rather than just, you were thinking of a dog or whatever, you know, like there is nothing to that. So try and take people on a journey, you know. Okay, and finally, let's talk about what the audience will lead with. Okay, so if you are a super clever chappy and you just do method after method after method, you buy loads of gimmicks and you just present them, people will leave and forget what you did. I promise you, they'll just forget what you did. There'll be so many tricks and there'll be nothing else to it. There might be one they remember, but they'll leave with maybe one or two tricks that they were like can't figure out, the rest they're trying to figure out or they figured out, and it becomes a series of puzzles. That's that. Or you can have people leave and not remember all of the tricks, but just remember what a great time they had, and I would love to go and see them again. That's what you want people to leave with. That's the feeling you want people to leave a show, or, you know, if you've been in their company, that's what you want to leave with. So in my show, I try really hard to get my personality across. I try to enjoy myself, and I try to each trick. Sometimes the journey from A to, you know, to nearly B is so much more fun than the actual reveal. My live version of my shoe trick, you know, confabulation, is the prime example of that. Yes, I'll take the thing out of my shoe and boom, and, you know, in live situation it all matches, and people are like, oh, that's nice, you know, it was in his shoe, but getting there is so much fun, you know, there's so much going on with the bowling and the words going up, and people writing wanker on the thing, and then we go, no, you can't write that, it's family show, and then they're chucking an L up so it said wangler, and then me just calling them a wangler for the rest of the show, stuff like that, you know, just so much fun going on, from me saying, like I said, one boy, one girl on stage, you're going to represent your sex, so you're the boy, girl, you're the girls, cheer them on as they do challenges. They'll do bowling against each other, we'll get a score, they'll do, you know, write the words on the board, they'll get a score, you know, and someone will win, they'll do rock, paper, scissors. All this stuff has nothing to do with the trick, it's just having fun. But obviously you're getting them to do random stuff so you can do a confabulation. Whereas I feel like if you do a confabulation where you just say, right, you're going on holiday, where are you going? And how much are you going to spend? And and then you reveal it. You know, wouldn't it be really cool if they could, like, you know, actually have a basket full of stuff where they can root through and pick something out, you know, and that's what they're going to take on holiday. And actually to get involved, it just makes the same process a lot more fun. There could be a load of money in a, you know, fake money in a thing, and they can take, you know, a load of Monopoly money and take out different amounts of money, so that then when they've got it, it's a random choice, but they had a lot of fun digging through, and You know, you can have things in there where they put it out and it's not a really appropriate object, they put back in quick and they grab something else. You know, my point is, when you're writing a trick, just because you have to have the information given to you so you can secretly write it down and then present it as a confabulation, doesn't mean you just need to go and ask them what they want to go on holiday with, so that you can tell them that you knew ahead of time. That's the presentation and that's the method. But have some fun, you know, pad it out a little bit, make it interesting, think in your head, how can I, right, I've got some random choices made, talking about confabulation. How can I make the choices interesting? Because people are going to, you know, that's the bit people remember, you know, putting on the outfit that they're going to go on holiday. They have a whole load of clothes and they can pick anything they like, and they, you know, they're chucking on like a rain hat and a bikini top, you know, for a bloke, and you know, and they're actually putting the stuff on and then digging all this money out and then going through what's going to be in your hand luggage and putting out all this stuff, and then you predict all of that. It's the same trick, but it's so much more fun, and people will remember that. They'll remember laughing and enjoying themselves. Oh, and he guessed what they were going to do. That's great, but that's just a puzzle bit. You know, you have to do that bit because you're there as a magician. But the bit that they'll remember is how much, just that feeling of I had a lot of fun. And just, you know what, just talking that through, I think that's how I'm going to present my confabs from now on. I'm going to get people to dress, and people do it, you know. You know, there are magicians that, you know, Chris Cox is brilliant for doing that, where he you know, puts on like random clothes, and other people, you know, that stuff is out there. I'm not saying like that nobody does it, but I feel like that's what you should be aiming towards. You know, have fun, let your audience have fun. So just, yeah, when you get a method or a present, you know, you come and stumble across something, oh my god, this parapet, this is amazing. Don't feel like I need to show people this as straight away and dem it like you saw it on the trailer. Right, now you have that tool, just keep that in mind and then start thinking of like really cool things you can do for mentalism, and eventually that will come in. That'll be the perfect tool to gain that information before I then start this process, and then down here I will give the information back, but in the meantime I'll have a lot of fun. Try to do that, try to create a journey, not just a dem of a, you know, gimmick or a product, and you'll get on a lot more with your mentalism. Alright guys, I hope this makes, so try not to just dem products and gimmicks, try to actually have those in there as utilities to create something larger, which is a journey, which is fun or serious, you know, as long as it's a journey which is not just you demming the product, people have a really good time, they'll enjoy it and they'll enjoy you and they'll want to see you again, and that's how you build an audience, and that's how you build people that want to watch your shows again and again and again. People like Chris Cox, people like Young and Strange, these guys are great at getting themselves across when they're performing, and therefore they will always have the boys awake. He's not well. They will always have fans. Right, must go. Boys awake. I'll see you guys later. Big love. Thanks for watching.